in to another episode of Natural is F. We do this show every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. So I want you to get familiar with our show that we do every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And this show is usually a live show where we're going to be talking about holistic concepts and principles on how to heal yourself. Now, if you have any health questions that you would like to have answers to, leave it in the comments and our producers will put it up there and we'll work towards answering your question if it's pertaining to health now. That's what and we're not medical doctors, so make sure that you're not asking about medication or you're not asking about herbs or remedies because we don't we're not those type of doctors. We're holistic doctors, natural orthopathic. We believe that disease is right action, whereas the medical mentality, the herbal mentality, and all those cure mongers, they believe that disease is something to fight and war against. We believe that the disease must run a course. That is your healing. A cough, a lot of people want to suppress a cough, but what is the cough coughing up? Or what is the cough trying to get rid of? Why would you stop that? Some people want to stop a diarrhea, but the diarrhea is there to get rid of some fermented waste in your digestive tract. Why would we want to stop that? So to others, that is a disease. To us, that is the cure to your toxic inside. That is the cure to the poison that has accumulated in your body. All these symptoms that results from poisoning is nothing but the body's attempt to eliminate the waste, and it should be allowed to do so. People can take drugs from the doctors and they call it side effects. Now, what are the side effects? The side effects is the poison being dealt with. The body is trying to react, trying to neutralize, and trying to expel the waste. Alcohol. People start drinking alcohol, they start having symptoms of alcohol poisoning. They urinating, they delirious, they sweating. All these different symptoms are due to poisoning. Now, these symptoms are due to poisoning in the alcohol. It's due to poisoning in the medication. So why don't we think that the symptoms in the case of our so-called colds and flus and pneumonias, why don't we think that there too are caused by poisoning? Now, the poisoning is just not known to us to be poison. Like we're not, eating or drinking foods that we believe is poisonous. Like we know alcohol is poisonous, and we know, cocaine and heroin, and we know rat poison, and we know a lot of other things are poisonous, and we know that our body is going to react to those things. But a lot of us don't realize that mayonnaise, ketchup, salt and pepper, and all these other blended seasonings and stuff like that. We don't know that the ranch dressing and all those other dressings that they got out there. I don't know them by name because I haven't used them, and God knows when. But all these different blue cheese and all these other so-called dressings, we're unaware that the chicken legs and the turkey legs and the chicken wings and the turkey wings and the tail of the ox and the feet of the pig and the backbone of the cow and that's the T-bone and all the other body parts and organs and tissues and things of that nature that we ingest in our body, we don't realize that they too are poisons. All the sodas that we're drinking, all the coffee we're drinking, all the tea that we're drinking, and all the other so-called juice concoctions and other, concoctions of so-called fluid that we ingest in our body, not knowing that it's poison. And our body must get rid of that poison. You got to think, these folks are putting so many additives, so many preservatives, putting so many dyes, and all type of fillers in our food and drink. So now what could the body do with this stuff? The body can't make use of these additives and these preservatives and this dye number 7 and all these other big names that you can't even pronounce in your food, those are poisons. And so the body got to got to do something about these poisons. These poisons can't just sit up and just, they don't pay rent in the house. They don't pay rent in this body. So the body is not going to allow them to just linger in there and put their foot up in the air and just chill out and tear up and mess up organs and tissue. That's not how the body rolls. All right. So these poisons, they have to be eliminated. As soon as they come into the body must take action. It can't allow these toxins just to, just roam free inside of it. So it has to take action. Now that action is what you consider to be a disease, a symptom. A symptom, it can take action by coughing out the poison. It can take action by having a diarrhea to diarrhea out the poison. It can sweat it out. It can, warm up where it can burn and disintegrate it faster because, poison and materials decay faster under heat. So the body have to warm up to 102 degrees, 103, 104 degrees. Now we see it as fever and we think it's something that we need to stop. But how is the body going to do its work if we interfere with it raising its temperature, if we interfere with its coughing, we interfere with its diarrhea, we interfere with its sneezing, we interfere with its sweating, we interfere with the symptoms of detoxification or the routes of elimination. All right. So we have to get out of trying to interfere with body activity. Every activity that we see in disease is metabolic. It's a metabolic process. It's metabolic activity. It's enzymic activity. The body is trying to free itself of waste, or it's trying to build itself back up from some damage that we did from either eating bad or some damage that we just, did from hurting ourselves. Or it's trying to tolerate an environment that is just unwholesome to it. So it tries to adapt, So all these are, what our sicknesses become from our, way of living, our habits and stuff. I wanted to share a little information that we used to talk about when we first started teaching holistic health and healing. We wasn't all into natural hygiene just yet, but we had a concept about health. Like it was stages in us coming into the ideal of health too. We didn't just leave the medical people and were waha, what I'm saying, practicing natural hygiene off rip. But we went through stages. We went through the herbs and studying herbs and using herbs and all type of stuff. We went to, dealing with supplements and all the so-called organic meats and, still eating organic so-called Oreos or organic French fries. And, we were doing stuff that was still not as healthy, but we were doing it under the pretense that we were healthier than the medical people. But the thing about it was we were still suppressing our sicknesses, which the sicknesses was what? Us cleaning ourselves. But as soon as we started having issues, we went to the herb shop or we went to the herb man and we allowed them to prescribe us some of their concoctions, their tonics, their teas, and their other blended materials and substances that we took into our body to stop our coughs, to stop our sneezing, and all the other so-called means of palliating and suppressing our symptoms of detoxification. So it wasn't no different than the medical man. The medical man did the same thing. So the herb man ain't too much different than him. I see a lot of people advertising, the use of herbs and remedies. Most of these people, and I'm not, breaking them down or anything like that, but a lot of them really haven't studied science enough to realize that the body is a self-governing organism. And, they haven't studied enough chemistry to see that inorganic materials are unable to, be taken up into the body like organic material. So they haven't studied enough physiology to notice how things function, in the body. Yeah, we know that the heart is in the body, and it's a part of the circulatory system and blood flow. Well, how does it function though? And why does it function? Under what conditions it function under? And what makes it thrive? And what makes it, weaken? And what makes it degenerate? So we don't understand the physiology behind the heart and the cells and tissues that make up the heart. We go even deeper into that. And we don't look at the physiology of the body as a whole, the body being one community. And we tend to, when we get sick, we look at one part of our body and we don't have regards for the rest of the body. We tend to have an issue in the lungs and we only keep an eye on the lungs, and we don't realize that the rest of the body is in danger too, and that the lungs is just the first one to cry out in pain, but the whole body is suffering. Because if the lungs don't have energy to heal itself, well, there's no energy in the body, period. The whole body is functioning under low energy. So the rest of the organs and tissue are just as close. That's why you start with one disease, and next thing you know, another organ giving out, another organ. It just start coming back to each other. Well, they were already weak. It's just that they wasn't the weakest, so they wasn't the first one to cry out and telling you, hey, something need to be done. They wasn't the first one to have to go through renovation because they wasn't the one that you abused the most. So the organ that is the weakest in you will be the first one to cry out in pain, will be the first one to give you your aches and pains that you have to go to the doctor for because it's the weakest. So the rest of the body will soon follow too. But to advance in the human race, we have to meet and overcome the older thought process and patterns that we have. The thought patterns of today are grounded in the medical mentality. To overcome the health issues that plague us today, we must advance through a mental revolution. We have to be taught to see things differently. Progress does not mean destruction of the universe. So if we progress, it's not going to destroy anything. What's wrong with learning that the body heals itself and we can stop these cancers and lupuses and immune deficiencies and all these so-called diseases that's destroying mankind today? We can get rid of all the bone issues that we have. We can get rid of all the suffering and sicknesses that man are suffering from if we are willing to progress from that mindset of curing to a mindset of living a lifestyle that promote health. It's all in the lifestyle. As long as we believe that drugs can protect us and heal us and treat us and keep us alive, we're going to constantly, put our belief in it, and we're going to constantly go that route. Even after we're seeing other people die and suffer, using the same route that we're using. We got people walking with us and getting snuffed off, and but we're still there, even though we start having signs of what we saw another individual go through, that doesn't make us stop taking the so-called pills or the so-called treatments or whatever. We have to change the way we look at this thing. It was best for me to talk about how I would live. This is natural as self. All I'm doing is explaining the lifestyle of Ferrante Frazier, which is natural as elf. So I'm just teaching you the naturalness of how I would live my life under the certain condition. And now, if we look at it, a lot of others are living their life just the same. I'm not the only one doing natural hygiene. We see the animals are naturally doing natural hygiene. They don't need books. They don't need somebody up here teaching them on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock about how to properly eat. They eat what was designed for them to eat. I don't have to speak to them about, or they don't have to have pigs up there telling other pigs how to properly take care of themselves. or how to be pigs. Cats don't have to have a school to educate other cats on how to become, cats. Dogs don't have to do the same thing. Only humans have to have books to educate them on how to be, at their higher self. Only humans need books and education and TikToks and videos, YouTube videos and other stuff on how to eat healthy foods, how to drink healthy drinks, how to exercise, and how to live healthy, you know. So in doing so, I had to do the same thing. I'm not, judging anybody or condemning anybody, anything like that. Me myself, I had to go to school many years and study science to even get the degrees that I have that I can come out and teach individuals or operate my clinic where I'm, helping individuals overcome their sicknesses and their diseases that's plaguing them, to the point where they're suffering immensely. So we have to, you know, acquire a new view of the way we look at health and disease. We can't look at it as being caused by parasites and bacteria. As long as we believe that something else is the cause of our suffering, some little parasite or something like that, then we're never going to look at our food as being an issue. As long as we keep thinking that our weakness is due to, like I said, parasites and bacteria, we're never going to realize that our lack of exercise cause us to, lose our muscle tone and become weak and sick. As long as we don't believe that the sun is the cause of our suffering, we won't get sunlight and we won't get vitamin D because we think that we can get it from a pill or we can get shots and all type of stuff to give us what we need to get naturally from just going out into the sun. We sidestepping health here. We thinking that we can buy health. We think that we can, purchase it in a bottle. We think that we can get it out of a pill. We think that we can use all these different techniques that these cure mongers have to try to cure us. When in fact, all we have to do is change our lifestyle, and we will naturally, produce the health that our body was designed to have in the first beginning. You see, it's really easy. As we were saying before we went to the commercial, it's actually so easy to be healthy. You don't have to do anything. You can go lay up in the bed and your body will go through a series of cleansing itself, healing itself. This is what we call the fast. It actually takes you years and years to tear up a liver. It takes you years and years to, destroy your digestive tract. It takes you years and years to damage organs and stuff like that, and cells and tissue. So health is easy to accomplish. The medical mentality has had many years to show and prove their science of health. But as we see today, more people are suffering and dying from diseases than ever before. But these are the people who are our health gurus, our experts. But here it is, new diseases are coming about, all due to, a bunch of the use of the treatments that they're giving us. excuse me, they have a word for this called iatrogenic. If you look up the term iatrogenic, this is diseases that are caused by medical intervention. The individual would never have suffered a sickness if they would have stayed away from the medical treatments. When they started taking the medical treatments, it produces more chronic issues and the individual suffered more. It's so many, in spite of all the drugs, all the training, all the fancy gadgets, all the big lights, and all the machines they got going on in these hospitals and in these doctor offices, mankind is still suffering from sickness at an alarming rate. Even to the point now where our kids, our children, our young are dying from old people diseases. They're having the same issues that 30 years olds are having, that 40 years olds are having, that 50 years old and 60 and 70 years old. We see that in children being born, children that are 2 and 3 years old. All of them are suffering with diseases that was only peculiar to older people. Only a change in our mode of living will advance our evolution into healthier, sound beings. However, before men and women can be taught to reform their modes of living, they must learn a new perspective of life. They have to receive a new understanding of health. Dr. Shelton called it a revolution, a revolutionary change in the way we look at health. Now, a revolutionary change is not a reform. A reform is saying that what we have is good and we just need to tweak it a little bit. But a revolutionary is a radical change in the way that we do things. Now, if we radically change our thinking towards believing that a lifestyle change can change us and that using drugs and treatments and all the other so-called nonsense that we're getting from the cure mongers, if we put that out and we start teaching the people the right way to live, if you know the headache, if we give a person a pain pill and they stop the headache, then that person is walking around with a headache they just can't feel. They still got a headache, they just can't feel it. And they're walking around with a damaged head. Now, the head might not be the thing that's damaged. The head might just be the signal of some damage somewhere else in the body. But the individual is using the body even though it's damaged. The warning light is on telling you, hey, stop engine, check engine. The check engine light is on. That's the headache. But you don't do anything. Instead of you checking the engine, you take the light bulb out. Now, that's the way we do when we have headaches. We take pain pills. So we take something to stop the headache, some herb, some remedy or something like that. So all we're doing is interfering with activity of the body. Now, we have to, like I said, receive a new understanding of health. A healthy mode of living can't be put aside once health has returned. So once we even get healthy, we can't, put it to the side and say, okay, well, I done went through the health. I done ate right. I done, breathed right. I done been out into the sun. I done got healthy. Now I can put it aside and go back to my usual way of living. I can go back to my meat slops. I can go back to my coffee and tea. I can go back to, not having to exercise. I don't have to go to the gym as often. I don't have to go out and get sunlight. I don't have to maintain normal relationships. I can allow excesses and stress. I can work a little more, instead of getting rest. I can overwork myself. I can overplay. I can oversex. I can do things in excess. All because I've gone through a period of healing, healed myself, and now I have some clients that was loving to do that type of stuff. They were going through problems that, they couldn't even eat, because their food wasn't digesting properly. It was causing them health issues really bad. And then we dealt with them for about 2 or 3 weeks, well, really about 4 weeks, and they started. Well, within 2 weeks, they were ideal. They were back to feeling great. They could take solid foods back into their body. They had no problem dealing with it. They were digesting the food properly. Their levels were maintaining normality. Um, and by within the month, they were, a-okay. And then once they were doing good, they kept asking me, well, when can I go back and start eating my food? Now can I eat? Now can I eat? The steak. Now can I go and get some oxtail? Now can I get a little bit of turkey wings? Can I have some fried fish? Can I have some fried shrimp? You know, like that is the thing that causes your sickness. Do you want to go back into that lifestyle? You go back and start tasting that food again, and you're going to be eating it every day, because those are highly stimulating, irritating foods, and they hurt the body, especially if you go back eating those foods in a manner that you left off after you clean up yourself and heal yourself of your sickness, and you go back out there taking huge amounts of these poisons, you're going to do more damage to your body. Like we see with individuals who, once used to can drink a whole gallon of liquor without really getting drunk, and then they sober up themselves and stay sober for a while, and then they go back and try to take a whole gallon of liquor to kill themselves. Why? Because they don't have the toleration. Their body hasn't adapted to the habit of ingesting huge amounts of poison. So you end up poisoning and killing yourself. So you have to be careful what you're putting in your body. Now, it's always a good thing to only remember the past so we can acknowledge their efforts to better our life. It's been many players in the game of life that have stepped up and took control of the game so that we can become winners. It's a lot of people who came into this thing way before me that I've learned from when it comes to holistic health and healing. Like I said, Dr. Tilden, Dr. Jackson, um, uh, Dr. Dobbs, you had Dr. Shelton, Dr. Vetrano, Dr. Bidwell. You had so many different practitioners of hygiene that was out here way before us. Dr. Sylvester Graham. All those individuals who were out here teaching the drugless diet, teaching healthy lifestyle, teaching the vegan, the fruitarian, way of eating. Those practitioners been out here teaching this way of life that we may, become a generation of beings that don't have to suffer from, the aches and pains. We can clean up our environment, clean up our eating, and start off early, where, we can carry ourselves into a good old ripe age. It shouldn't be that, because most of us, we're running into, eating right and lifestyle changes at the age of 30 and 40 after our body has done went through a series of breakdowns and been, going through a bunch of crises. And then we want to change our lifestyle, and then even if we don't make it to be 90, we up there like, oh, this guy ate a bunch of fruit and he still suffered. But what about the 40 years that he had already torn down his body? So, but imagine when we become a group of people where, we can start off our children at an early age. But not even our children, we starting off at an early age to be hygienic. But what if our parents who bear those children are living hygienic? And what about if they were, living hygienic all their life, and their parents, and so on? Then see, we're changing the DNA, the genetics, the genes of the individuals, just like breeding dogs. If you breed two sorry animals, you're going to have a sorry litter. Two weak, diseased animals will produce sickly and weak and diseased pups, and so on. And if you continuously breeding some weak, sorry animals together, you're going to start having the way the mother will start aborting the animal. They'll come out all dead. So we see that going on now where a lot of the children that are the women who's having children are having these natural abortions. They don't have to go to the doctor and pay money for abortions. The body is aborting it because the child can't survive under the condition. The child is so weakly. The mother is weakly that she can't even carry the child properly. So and that's why I said we need to create a race of beings, which we all are one race. Don't look at the race as being black, white, or whatever. We're one race of people called mankind, beings, human beings. So when we raise up the whole world on changing, and I'm speaking big. I know you say, well, we need to start here at home first. We have. And that's why we're spreading out this information to raise and resurrect mankind to a higher self where he don't have to suffer disease. That's our wish, that all mankind can go through life without having air ache vein, where they don't have to stick themselves with, no type of diabetic medicines or anything like that. They don't have to sit there and check their pressure every day to see if it's over, where they have to take their pills. We want it where mankind can go through life feeling the glorious being of being healthy and having their optimum energy and go through life just feeling, having uninterrupted health. That's our prayer, you know. Now, we see that in 1950, there were like 120 deaths to cancer in a ratio, 485 hundred death to cardio. So more people was dying from cardio diseases than cancer. 200 deaths to cancer in 1900 to it was in the 2000. So 1950, within 10, like within a decade, the average had jumped up. But the average meat eater in a lifetime will eat 15 cows, 25 hogs, 900 chickens, 12 sheep, and 1,000 pounds of assorted meat. All right? Let me repeat that to you. The average meat eater in a lifetime will eat 15 cows. He will eat 25 hogs. He will eat 900 chickens, 12 sheep, and 1,000 pounds of assorted meat. Now, and less veggies and fruits. Those things are what's comprising our health, but making our health, torn down because most of our food is meat. You look at some of the people dinner meals, you'll see that some of them will sit there and just eat chicken. They'll have just a plate of chicken, all right? Some of them will have, just a big piece of steak. That's all they want. Some people just eat oxtails and macaroni. That'll be all their plate. I've actually seen some plates where they would do rice and oxtails and macaroni and have some stuffing. Where the vegetables at? The introduction to processed food is food that breaks down your body while your body is breaking it down. So processed food is actually breaking down your body while your body is trying to break it down. It can't. It's pouncing on this unnatural substance that it wasn't even designed to break down. The human digestive tract was designed to break down plant food that nature provides, the fruits and the vegetables that grow in the gardens. The statistics that I just gave you of cancer and all these other so-called diseases will continuously increase, if we don't take control of the situation that we're suffering from. I know we take delight in the new recipes. Somebody get up here and show a toxic meal, and I call it toxic meal, but you go on Facebook and you'll see somebody post their meal of full of meat, full of casserole dishes. The more meat is in the dish, if they have a meat full up with shrimp, lobster, crab, decadent with cheese, gravy, over a hoagie roll, something like that, the more you'll have so many people up there hitting like and talking about, where you get that from? I gotta go there. And they'll be going there with no problem. If you post a sign up on Facebook with boxes of fruit for sale at low numbers, yeah, you have a couple of people call you. That's the way of the world right now. So that's why I said the way of the world will have to change. More people will have to take. Now, before we went into the commercial, I wanted to talk a little bit about, a lot of the sodas, the Little Debbie's, and the different snacks, chips, and different things that we, feed our kids, even while they're young, as little as 1 year old. I've seen people giving their child honey buns, tater chips, even them hot ones. They're giving the baby hot chips, you know. But they also, I've seen them put chicken bones in the baby mouth and let them suck on the chicken bone, all with the whole meat, the whole chicken leg. They let them eat the chicken at an age where they're supposed to still be drinking milk. And in fact, popular belief and, the medical people and some of the other so-called experts are telling mothers that milk is toxic to the kids, that breast milk is toxic to the kids, and they shouldn't breastfeed. And the best thing that they should do to help their children is to put their child on formula. Now, and for us to sit there and listen to this foolishness is beyond me. For somebody to tell you that something that Mother Nature, done since the beginning of time, people from the beginning of time raise their children off of breast milk. Matter of fact, it's just recently had they come up with all this foolishness of formula or using cow's milk or some other goat milk or some other animal. But before that, it was only just breast milk. And if a woman didn't have milk to feed her child, she would use a wet nurse or the milk of another child. Now, some people think that's nasty. I've had people say, "Oh, that's disgusting for me to use the milk of another person." When in fact, during slavery, hey, did you see the white women breastfeeding their own kids? No, they would have one of the black women to breastfeed their own kids. A black mother would be there breastfeeding her child and the white baby at the same time. The white mother would not allow that. No, she wasn't about to mess up her breast or have her breast taken. She wasn't about to sit there and breastfeed no child. So most of the white kids that were doing slavery were raised and fed off of chocolate milk. But if we talk about aspartame, aspartame is one of the artificial sweeteners that is in a lot of the foods that we're eating, and it is considered the sweet killer. And it actually puts the dye in diet. A lot of the diet foods that we have, the artificial sweetener that is used is aspartame, and some of these new forms of sweeteners that they got in here, still under the same pretense of chemical poison. But a lot of the so-called aspartame use, we notice that it goes to the neurons of the brain and destroy them. They actually are excitotoxins. Well, I'm going to say it like this: they're neurotoxins because they actually just destroy the neurons. Now, the MSG is more of a cytotoxin. It will excite and irritate the cell until it dies. So both of them is still destructive to the neurons and cells of the brain. So you see a lot of people who are on those diet substances, they usually end up with diseases, brain diseases such as Parkinson. They suffer diseases such as Alzheimer's and dementia, and some of the other so-called brain disorders from the use of the aspartame. And we see a lot of kids that are, going to school and they're suffering with the ADHDs and all the focusing problems. A lot of them kids are dosed up on drugs that inhibit their access to their brain. A lot of these drugs are going to the brain, irritating and destroying neurons and stuff, and then we wonder why the children are acting out, why they can't focus in school. We want to beat them. We want to put them on drugs and all type of stuff like that. We want to, take stuff away from them, and we don't realize that you're causing their sickness how you're feeding them. You're feeding them Cheerios in the morning. You're feeding them this high sugary cereal every morning. Or you're giving them this fat, greasy bacon and sausages with eggs and cheese and a biscuit. And you give them this sweet drink to swallow it all down with. This artificial drink that's full of aspartame and high fructose corn syrup and all these other poisons that are killing and destroying cells and tissues in their brain. And when they act out, you're thinking it's dumb. They need to do better. They can't. They don't have access to their brain. Their brain is being, snuffed out with poison that we're feeding them. Now, it's not your fault because that's how you've been taught. That's how I've been taught to feed, on bacon and eggs for breakfast, and pancakes, and then for lunch we eat a big sandwich, or we eat pizza, hamburgers, French fries, and then for dinner we sit down to a big piece of meat and some spaghetti and toast or whatever. We eat these big meals, but they are meals that the body cannot make use of. Common deaths for teenagers used to be sports accidents. More children used to die from a sports accident, but now it's coming from more children are dying now from cancer, heart attacks, and diabetes. That's a shame. Now, what's the difference in how these kids are now to what they were back in the days when we were young, and even our parents when they were young? The kids used to be more active. You know, there's no activity in our kids anymore. Hardly ever do you see kids running outside, you know, having fun at the park, playing, or anything like that. You know, only the poor kids may do so because they don't have no game inside the house or no phone to do no TikTok or anything, so they have to still go out there. But those who are making sure that their kids have the latest stuff, the latest games and stuff, so that making them not be able to go outside, they get addicted to these games, and they do not go outside and play. We used to play all day. We used to only get on the phone at night, not all throughout the day. When we go in there at night, we take turn one another using the phone until mama or daddy would get on the phone and embarrass us and tell us to get off. Time to go to bed. You know, most of the children used to go around cutting grass or delivering newspapers. You know, and we earned money doing so too when we used to do that type stuff. Um, um, we would go, you know, we would have like 30-minute meals and not the 30-second ones. You know, we scuff down our food now. We're not sitting at the table like we used to, you know, when we were growing up. We all had to, every time we had a meal, it would have to be at the table. We could not eat in the rooms. We could not eat in the den or anything like that in front of no television. Our meal was a pure activity. My daddy and them used to have it where we had a big old table, you know, and he would set the table and we would sit there and we would eat our food. And then once we finish, then we can leave the table and go do other stuff. Um, I'm going to tell you, preventive medicine is the best medicine. You know, there is no such thing as medicine to heal us. It's only prevention. And when you do get sick, it's the removal of the cause and allow the body to rid itself and purge itself of all waste and let it fix itself from all damage that occurs from your unhealthy lifestyle. It's a pain, and I mean a pain, to go through these health issues that we're going through. We have to enlighten ourselves on our health and keeping our environment healthy. There are individuals who can be named that are destroying our future for greed. They are willing to feed you cancer, sodium, and nitrates and nitrites. They're, you know, these big corporations, they don't care. They're just injecting you with stuff that they know causes cancer. We know that sodium nitrites and nitrates are causing cancer because in the laboratory, that's what they give rats to produce them to study cancer. And that's another thing. If you look at it, how do the, you know, these animals that are getting cancer in the laboratory, these are healthy animals when they come to the laboratory. And then the lab technician inject them with some poison or something like that, and the animal now grows a tumor or becomes sick with a sickness that is cancerous. Well, what did the lab man do? He injected them with poison, and that poison got trapped. The body created a tumor to encapsulate that poison, and the other tissues that been destroyed from the constant irritation and application of a poison to this animal, to the animal now has hardened and changed its functions in its DNA and now has become cancerous. So the lab man is producing cancer in the laboratory, and the only way he can do so is by injecting poison into the animals. There's no other way for him to cause these animals to get cancer. So that makes you wonder if they're looking for the cause of cancer as they inject poison to cause cancer in an animal, and then they want to say, we're trying to study what is causing cancer. You just gave the cat cancer. You just gave the rat cancer. What did you do? How did you cause it in this cat and this rat? You injected him with poison. Now, that should obviously tell us that the human, they're injecting themselves with poison through their eating and their drinking with these unnatural stuff that we're injecting in our body as food. It's not food that we're eating. We're eating poisons, chemical poisons that have been created in a manufactory. This manufactured food. Man has factored this food. And he has created and cooked and put so many poisons in it to preserve it. And we eat it. So scientists use it in labs to induce rats, this nitrite and nitrate. If you read the labels and see what you're eating and encourage others to eat to live, you can help spread the knowledge. The whole community wins when we all assist in the fight to promote health and preserve the natural way for future generations. We have to take care of those who are coming after us. But the only way we can do so is by properly teaching them the right way and starting them off eating the right foods, and they'll help them live a natural and healthy life, giving them like a good start, you know. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in to this show, and we're going to continuously carry on this topic next week. I have more that I want to talk about and go into next week about, hygiene versus a medical mindset. Natural hygiene being that natural state, how to just change the lifestyle and promote health. Whereas the medical mindset is believe in using remedies, cures, and treatments and hopes to cure you of issues that are caused by an unhealthy lifestyle. So we're gonna have a better understanding of that when we come back next week. I want you to have a great week this week. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to call us at 912-272-8381 at Savannah Natural Health. You can email us at savannahnaturalhealth@gmail.com. We also want you to contact um, Our Black Television if you do want to know more about holistic health and healing. They can always share the information with us, and we'll make shows about it, or we'll just contact you and allow us to help guide you into a better state of health. Please donate and share this information with others where we can keep our Black media running. All things relevant Black media. We're also on Roku now. You need to go there and download Our Black Media. You actually have to go in and download Our Black Media and make it one of your apps. And then you can watch our shows there as well. You can sit right there on your couch and watch us in your living room. So best of health and happiness, and y'all have a great week. And y'all know for sure that I love y'all so much. Best of health.